Welcome back to the Rewilded Wellness Podcast. I hope you all had a safe and happy holiday weekend. If you're in the United States, I just celebrated my third son's 20th birthday. I'm just a little amazed about that. I don't know how that happened. Where did the time go? Oh my goodness. But he's been doing great. He's done hair tissue mineral analysis since he was 10 years old. It's probably more like 9, but um anyway, so 10 years of supporting his mineral foundation, watching him grow into this brilliant young handsome man has been so incredible. So I always say that my kids' birthdays are also my birthdays because it's just like a chance to just reflect on what you gave birth to, the human you gave birth to. It's such a celebration for us mamas as well. And, being a mom in this era really feels like pioneering, right? We're navigating challenges our parents never had to consider, from environmental toxins to EMF exposure to, the disruptive food systems, and we could go on and on, right? And, I certainly haven't done everything right, obviously, like who does? But one of the things I'm really grateful for and even maybe I don't know, I want to use the word proud of, but being able to have started him much earlier with some of the foundational, nourishment supports like the mineral piece, right? To help, his system adapt in a better fashion in these times, has really made such a difference. And, I love helping other moms with this work because I do believe our kids deserve to start with deeply supported ecosystems, right? Like the typical wait and see approach of conventional pediatrics just misses the foundational pieces entirely, right? And we can all do much, much better for our kiddos. So just wanted to share that little piece of my life and reflection with you. And in this episode, I wanted to talk about a really lovely concept. And I've been having a lot of major insights lately about this. I'm always talking to people and I'm always thinking about the bigger picture. And I want to share this because these insights really are around why so many people feel like, and this is what people say, I feel stuck. I feel stuck, right? So a lot of people they stay stuck on their, let's call it, healing journey, right? And it's not exactly what you think. So, look, first I want to say I get it. We're living incredibly complex times. There are so many pieces that play a role in why we find ourselves dealing with chronic health issues, right? It's enormous, environmental toxins, disruptive food systems, chronic stress, generational trauma, right? The whole list goes on. People are seeing this now and it's good. Thank goodness we have more awareness than ever about these compounded factors, right? And the shift from conventional medicine to functional medicine hasn't shifted enough yet, right? It's gone from take this pill to let's find the root cause. Revolutionary, necessary. But here's what I'm seeing. We've swung so far into root cause hunting in this space that it's become its own form of desperation, right? We went from what's the issue, what's the solution in conventional medicine to what's the root cause, what's the protocol, right? Like in holistic health. And it starts to feel much of the same, doesn't it? So many people find themselves obsessing. Well, I say it like this, and I'm sure it's not everyone, but if you kind of pick up on the pulse of the languaging that's going on in the holistic health space, it does feel like an obsession over finding the answer. If you've heard as many conversations as I have, you'll have heard people framing it in this way, right? Finding the answer, finding the root cause, right? Like as if your body is a simple equation with one magical solution that will solve everything, right? And so we end up being in this like hunting mode, right? Like it puts us into a chase, which is more of a force, which is more of a push to like figure it out. And what does that create in your nervous system? The very stress response you're trying to heal from, right? The thing is our bodies are not mysteries to solve with any one key, right? Our bodies are complex. They're beautiful ecosystems. If we look at the roots of a tree or a plant, and then you look at a picture of the nervous system, you'll see the symbiosis there. They look one and the same. You know, if you look at the fascial network, right? All these things are vast within us, right? They're these vast interconnected networks, zero singularity whatsoever. No one little point in there that's like, oh, here, I'm the problem. So today I want to talk about shifting from what I'm going to call it this, the Ouroboros. I hope you guys know what the Ouroboros is. Ouroboros of healing. It's that endless chase, right? That snake that eats its own tail, right? To the terrain ecosystem approach. Instead of hunting for the problem, we start seeing the whole beautiful complex picture. Okay? Because here's the truth. Your body already knows how to heal. But it has a little bit of a harder time doing it when you're constantly putting it in stress mode by chasing the next fix. So let's talk about the Ouroboros of healing. I'm going to paint you a picture and maybe you recognize yourself in this. I definitely do and have. So the Ouroboros is that ancient symbol of a snake eating its own tail. And this is exactly what happens when we get stuck in the chasing cycle. You have a symptom, let's say it's a digestive issue. You start hunting for the root cause. You find one thing. Maybe it's SIBO. Maybe it's milk allergy. Maybe it's, I don't know, the list could go on, right? So then you're like, okay, let me go. This is it. This is the thing. And let me go treat that thing. But then something else pops up. Maybe all of a sudden you're like, oh, no, I have histamine intolerance now because you keep looking and you find it, right? So then you chase that. Then it's, oh, I must have methylation issues too, because clearly this, me trying to treat my histamine intolerance isn't, actually doing the thing that I wanted it to do. And then, next thing you know, it's heavy metals. Next thing you know, it's parasites. And of course, all this stuff is like all over the internet, right? So if you want to find yourself in it, you probably can, right? So chase symptoms, create more stress, need more fixes, chase more symptoms, repeat infinitely, right? You're literally consuming your own healing energy, just like that snake eating its own tail. And here's the kind of the kicker, right? Every time you're in this chasing mode, you're activating your nervous system's fight or flight response. Your body thinks it's under attack, thinks there's like a murder in the room, like in your brain is like, oh my gosh. So what does it do? It shuts down non-essential functions like digestion. Hello. Your healing potential gets kind of like snuffed out, right? The very things you're trying to fix get put on hold. And this is how we get trapped in what's called cell danger response. Your cells literally think they're in danger, so they stop doing their normal jobs and go into protection mode. And here's what we're not talking about enough. The chasing itself can keep you stuck in cell danger response. The very approach we've been taught to use for healing is actually preventing it from happening. So, and when I say taught, I mean conditioned, really, like societally conditioned. So what's the alternative? What happens when we stop, like, essentially being the Ouroboros and start working with our body's natural intelligence instead of against it? This is where I find that magnetism comes in. And I'm using this as a simple analogy, knowing that the actual physics are far more complex than I can do justice here. Now, think about the basic principle of magnetic attraction, right? A magnet, it doesn't chase, like, say, iron shavings or iron fillings across the table. You've seen that demonstration before, probably, right? It doesn't chase them. It doesn't force. It doesn't push. It doesn't hunt. It simply exists in its natural state, and the iron fillings are drawn to it effortlessly. And your body has this same quality of natural attraction when it's in coherence, when you're not in that chronic stress response. You naturally attract what you need for healing. The right foods taste good, your sleep improves, your digestion works better, your body starts repairing itself. Now, I'm not trying to make anyone wrong for chasing, okay? We've all been there. I still find myself there sometimes. The chasing actually teaches us something important through contrast. It shows us a contrast and experience of what we actually do want and what the other energy feels like. It helps us recognize when we've shifted into that pushing, forcing mode. So hopefully we can course correct. The reality is we'll find ourselves in chase mode more than once. This isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. It's about learning to recognize the difference between these two energies and how one impacts your nervous system. Now, magnetism isn't linear. It's not like this step-by-step process you can force. It's more like flow, like how water naturally finds its way around obstacles, like how plants grow toward the light without thinking about it. When you're magnetic, you're working with your body's intelligence instead of against it. You're trusting that your body knows how to heal when you give it the right conditions and get out of the way. Getting out of the way doesn't mean doing nothing. It means stopping the interference. It means releasing the timelines, the expectations. It means choosing what information and energy you let into your system instead of being overwhelmed by every new theory, every new supplement, every new dis-ease label, every new modern label. I mean, good grief, we're coming up with them every freaking year. Like there's dozens, right? What it means is having a conscious filter instead of being the filter for everything that comes your way. Your body processes every input, every piece of information, every emotion, every expectation you put on it. When you're magnetic, you're selective about what you feed your system. You respond instead of react. In times like these, we really have to be so grounded. We have to learn to discern between the energy of magnetic attraction and the energy of desperate seeking. Both will teach you something. Now, I feel that this is how you get out of cell danger response. This is how real healing happens. I want to share a brief nuance. When I say this is how you get out of cell danger response, I want to be clear. It's not a simple on-off switch. Cell danger response is actually a brilliant protective mechanism that your cells use when they detect threats. You might swing in and out of it throughout your life, and different parts of your system might be in protection mode while others aren't necessarily. So it is more nuanced than the wellness space often makes it sound. But the principle remains: when your nervous system feels safe enough to stop scanning for threats, your cells can shift out of protection mode and back into healing mode. Okay. So here's what I see happening with my clients all the time, and maybe you can relate to this. Their intuition is actually speaking to them constantly, or trying to. Essentially, their body is giving them signals about what it needs or doesn't need. But a lot of times people can't hear that message clearly. They can't discern that message that the body is trying to relay. Because why? There's too much interference. What do I mean by interference? It's all the noise we've been conditioned to listen to instead of our own inner wisdom. The latest protocol someone posted online, the fear-based information about what we should or shouldn't be eating or doing, or the constant stream of expert opinions telling us our bodies are broken and need fixing. When you're in chasing mode, you're literally creating more interference. Your nervous system is so busy scanning for threats and solutions that it drowns out the quiet voice of your body's intelligence. But when you clear the interference, when you stop being the filter for every piece of health information that comes your way, something beautiful happens. You start to hear what your body has been trying to tell you all along. You know that feeling when you're in nature? I hope you know this feeling. Deep in the heart of nature somewhere. And suddenly you just feel so zen. Everything feels clearer. That's what happens when the interference drops away. Your body's natural magnetism can finally function. The people who heal sustainably aren't the ones with the most information or the most complex protocols. They're the ones who've learned to trust their body's signals and follow them, even when it doesn't make logical sense. And this is the difference between having a clear channel and being overwhelmed by all the static. Now, here's something else that's really important to understand. It's really hard to find your center when you're surrounded by chaos. Okay? We humans, we are wired for co-regulation, meaning we naturally sync up with the energy of both the people around us and the environment we're in. So if you're around people who are constantly in, maybe they're in chasing mode, for example, or they're just stressed and frantic about life or their health, you're going to likely absorb that energy. If you're in environments that feel chaotic or overwhelming, your nervous system will match that too. Unless you've created a really solid, centered space within yourself, which is possible, but it's much harder to do it alone, as well as sustain it even within those crazy environmental places, right, with all those inputs. Now, I did this to the best of my ability for years, right? I relied heavily on nature. It started with me giving myself permission one day to go and sit in the woods until I felt calm. Like, no agenda, no timeline. I had plenty to do in my life at that time, but I was like, I have got to go and just be. And I started to do that more and more and more. Right? So I gave myself permission to go and sit in nature. And then I started to realize when I was in a more reactive place, I I needed to go and get myself out in the woods. And honestly, that's what healed me the most. And over time, I found more environments that, were better for me. They were more centered. They were more, clear. It took, connecting with other people who were also grounded in their own healing journey to take it that extra mile, right? And this is why your environment matters so much for healing. It's not just about the protocols you're doing, it's about who you're around, where you're spending your time, what energy you're absorbing. I had a client recently who told me at the end of our session, I feel safe with you. I feel like you could be a person that could really truly help me, and I feel hopeful. Now, this person had worked with other practitioners before who, while we're all knowledgeable, it felt like the way he described it had approached his health like a method to execute rather than a collaboration to explore. And here's what I think this person was feeling. The difference between working with someone who does their approach to you versus someone who works with you. Right. So when practitioners focus on getting their method right without really seeing the human in front of them, it can feel very dismissive, even when they mean well. So for many people dealing with chronic health issues, I've had this experience myself. I told you guys like the one story about the one practitioner wanted to do his method to me, and I had an allergic reaction to him. Do you guys remember that story? I'll have to tell that again at some point. Anyways, for many people dealing with chronic health issues, part of what got them into the chronicness of it in the first place was not feeling seen or heard, right? When healing becomes another experience of being treated like a problem to solve rather than a person to understand, it recreates that same pattern. And what we really need is integration, the kind of witnessed collaborative support that would have happened naturally would we have been in community. And I say this, if you've studied ancestral health and you've looked at tribal communities and how they were much more cohesive, and here we are now, and we don't really have that same experience because of the nature divorcement in large part. Anyways, um, you know, someone who can guide you while still honoring your inner knowing, someone who brings expertise but doesn't replace your body's intelligence with their agenda. That's more of what I'm talking about, co-regulation, right? That's co-regulation in action. That's what real healing support looks like. And this brings me to something that I talked about in depth in episode 12 of season 2 back in May, the difference between integration and correction. And this is especially important to understand when you're choosing who to work with and what kind of support you seek. And this is really the heart of sustainable healing. Most of the healing world is built on a large corporate thing, right? But it's built on a correction model, right? Like something's wrong, so we fix it. You have high copper, so we lower it. You have dysbiosis, so we kill the bad bugs. But what if your body is responding perfectly to the conditions it's been given, and our job is to change the conditions, not just suppress the response? Your symptoms are real. They're your body's way of signaling that things need attention. But instead of seeing those signals as enemies to fight, what if we saw them as messengers pointing us towards what needs support? Here's something crucial we have to acknowledge. For most of us living in a built environment versus a natural one, our bodies have had to adapt so much that they're creating a whole different ecosystem within us, one that's calling to be returned to balance. Think about what the built environment does to us. It separates us from the earth. No more grounding our electrical systems through our feet. It cuts us off from natural light cycles, disrupting our circadian rhythms and hormone production. It surrounds us with artificial electromagnetic frequencies that interfere with our body's natural electrical field. And then there's the mold issue, right? The way buildings trap moisture, the building materials that feed mold growth, the way EMFs actually increase mold toxicity in the buildings, right? We're living in structures that are literally working against our body's natural functions. We've become accustomed to an environment that essentially steals from us, right? The built environment depletes our minerals through so many means, right? Going back to even just the processed foods and the depleted soils, for simplicity's sake here. And it disrupts our microbiome through, antibiotics and all the things, right? So it overwhelms our nervous system with constant stimulation on the heels of all of that. And our bodies are trying, they are trying to maintain their natural magnetism in an environment that's constantly pulling us out of alignment. And this is why the integration model focuses, at least the one that I'm putting down for you here, it focuses on these foundational stones, keystones, these foundational elements, right? I've talked about my 7 pillars of health. I've emphasized the minerals, the microbes, right? We're not trying to fix something broken. We're trying to restore what's been lost. So we need to give our bodies what they would have naturally gotten if we were still living in harmony with the earth. That's kind of a tall order these days, right? So, when your terrain is more supported in this way, when you have the minerals your electrical system needs, when you have the beneficial microbes that regulate your immune system and produce neurotransmitters, your body can maintain its natural electromagnetic field. You become magnetic again, drawing in what you need, releasing what you don't. This is terrain work that allows your body's natural magnetism to function in a world designed to disrupt it. You're not just healing, you're reclaiming your body's original blueprint for health. So, here's what I want you to take away from this conversation. You have a choice. You can keep being the Ouroboros, chasing your tail, consuming your own healing energy, staying stuck in the very stress response you're trying to heal from. Or you can step into magnetism, aligning with your body's natural intelligence and creating the conditions where healing happens effortlessly. The shift isn't complicated, but it does require you to do something that might feel foreign at first. Trust your body more than the noise around you. Start by becoming your own filter. Stop letting every piece of health information, every new approach, every expert opinion become something you urgently need to respond to. Choose what you let into your system consciously. Clear the interference. Get back to nature as much as possible. Your body knows how to recalibrate when it's in its natural environment. And support your terrain. Remember, you're not trying to fix something broken. You're trying to restore what's been lost, what's been depleted by living in a world that wasn't designed for human thriving. And when I said world design, I'm talking about the modern world, right? If you're ready to move from chasing to magnetism, if you're tired of being the Ouroboros and ready to reclaim your body's natural blueprint for health, I'm here to support you in that if you want and need that support. And one of the ways, I have multiple ways I could help you do this. You can check out my website, look at my Work With Me page. Right now, I've been inviting people into my Minerals and Microbes program, which is designed specifically for people who are ready to stop chasing symptoms and start supporting their terrain. We focus on foundational pieces, right? The minerals, the beneficial microbes, and these are going to allow your body's natural magnetism to function. And when I say we focus on the minerals, I'm working with the hair tissue mineral analysis here to get a big picture view of what's going on in your body and your whole system, how you've adapted, right? Your stress response, kind of where your nervous system is hanging out right now. And when I say the microbes, I'm talking about working with the biome effects test to get a really good big picture view of what's going on in your microbiome, right? Because there are multiple layers of our microbiome that have become deeply impacted by the built environment. And so when we take both of those pieces together and weave them together, it's a really beautiful, deep way to approach the whole system and recreate the ecosystem within you, kind of like brick by brick, if you will, right? It's not about adding some rigid protocol. It's about creating the conditions where your body can finally do what it's been trying to do all along, and that is heal itself. So, if that's something you're interested in, you can find all the details in the show notes below on my website. And if you're not ready for that yet, that's fine. Just start with one thing. The next time you feel the urge to chase the latest fix, pause and ask yourself, what is my body actually trying to tell me right now? And if it's hard to listen, go somewhere where you can. Go find a park and a tree and just sit up next to that tree and let the noise just fall away. All right, well, when you do that, you can start to trust the wisdom that's been there all along, waiting for you to clear the noise so you can actually listen. All right, guys. Well, that is it for this episode. I hope you found something of value today. I hope you had an amazing takeaway. I appreciate you for tuning in, and I hope you stay wild, stay well, and I'll be back soon with another episode for you. Take care.